Now, once they surrendered, his homie that was with him would tell the police that they had jewelry and money stashed in the vehicle. Now, once arrested, his homie would then turn state witness, and this...
Don't get me wrong, bro. I ain't in the streets. I don't want to be in the streets. None of that, bro. But it just does something to me, bro, when somebody, like, be in the streets doing crime and things of that nature, but then when they get caught, they want to, do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth will help you? Yes, sir. Man, come on, man. That don't kill me, bro. Like, stay out the street, bro, if you ain't built like that, bro. YouTube. What's that word, man? What's that deal, man? So we back, bro. Back on the second reaction channel, man. We gotta tap in, man, right fast, man. You dig me? What I'm saying? Mr. Challenger out here with some crazy accusations today. I don't know. We don't want to talk about that, though, folks. We don't want to talk about that, though, folks. No, let's see what we finna talk about, man. Y'all, bear with me. I gotta find it. But y'all been on today, though, man. Happy Sunday, man. It's a cool, little, good Sunday. You did what I'm saying. Make sure you ain't taking nothing for granted. Shout out my dog Jerron Boots, man. He whooped old boy last night, man. You know what I'm saying? Did it for the culture. You feel me? Shout out him for that. But anyway, man, we gotta talk about one of Suge Knight's most trusted hitters, bruh. And he go by the name of Neckbone. You know what I mean? He go by the name of Neckbone, but ain't nothing sweet about Neckbone. Ain't nothing tender about Neckbone. They say he one of them guys over there with the whole mob Piru, bro. So that's what we gonna talk about today. So y'all know we in Cali, man. Y'all make sure y'all like, hype. Make sure y'all sub my dog Boys in the Hood TV. You did what I'm saying. And yo, let's just have it to the content, man. Talking about that boy Neckbone. Let's get it.
So if he get to hollering and screaming, talking crazy, you can't talk to me like that. Bam, bam, bam.
Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we're going to be discussing the life of Neckbone from Mob Piru. Now, Neckbone will be born in 1964 in Compton, California. He'll be raised by his mother as an only child. Now, as a kid, he would attend Mark Twain Elementary. Now, later on, he would attend Whaley Middle School, where he would meet Suge Knight in the 7th grade. Now, Neckbone had a love for playing sports, so the following year, he would join the football team where he would meet Keefy D. Now, when his football team would go out to play other schools for games, he and his teammates would find themselves getting into fights because Whaley Middle School was considered an all-Piru school. Now, once Neckbone started hanging out on the block, he would start watching a smaller crew within Ludus Park called the Eastside Mob form. Now, eventually, the Eastside Mob would become Mob Piru. Now, at the same time, Neckbone would start getting into fights throughout the neighborhood and building a daily reputation for having hands. And eventually, he would get put on as the second generation of the Mob Pirus. Now, not long after getting put on, he would be arrested at the age...
I ain't gonna care. I think I reacted on Neckbone, probably on my main channel. And, bro, one of my subs was like, bro, it was crazy seeing Neckbone on Vlad TV because... they was like Neckbone was really one of them guys. Like he had done so much in the streets. They were like they would never think he would even. They didn't even think anybody could pay Neckbone enough money to go to a Vlad TV and just talk about his life, bro. I was like, dang. So Neckbone really was one of them ones.
Age 15, while on his way to Dominguez High School by the local sheriff department. Now he would be arrested for a stolen bike and a box full of jewelry. Now at the time, Neckbone was known for robbing people outside of Compton with a few of his homies. Now these charges would lead to him doing 4 months in juvie. Now over the next several years, he would continue to be arrested, going in and out of juvenile detention. But eventually he would get sent to a boys' home in Inglewood. Now once there, he would continue to play football and even get offered scholarships. But later on, he would attend a trade school in Torrance, where he would catch himself getting in trouble yet again, and this time on robbery charges. Now, because at the time he had just turned 18, he would hit the county for the first time. Now, after serving 6 months, he would eventually get out. But once back out on the streets, he would be extremely active, gang banging and hitting licks, robbing and jacking by any means to get his money. Now, this behavior would lead to him catching another robbery charge while out in Beverly Hills. He and his older homie would lead the sheriffs on a high-speed chase throughout Beverly Hills, and eventually he would crash that car. Now, once they surrendered, his homie that was with him would tell the police that they had jewelry and money stashed in the vehicle. Now, once arrested, his homie would then turn state witness, and this.
Don't get me wrong, bro. I ain't in the streets. I don't want to be in the streets. None of that, bro. But it just does something to me, bro, when somebody, like, be in the streets doing crime and things of that nature, but then when they get caught, they want to, do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth so help you? Yes, sir. Man, come on, man. That junk kill me, bro. Like, stay out the street, bro, if you ain't built like that, bro. You feel me? If you know you ain't built for that, bro, just don't even get in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, bro.
This would force Neckbone to take a plea deal for 5 years. Now, throughout his stay in prison, Neckbone will be transferred from different prisons due to having multiple fights and having issues after having run-ins with the CRIPS, who at the time outnumbered the Bloods and Pirus throughout all the prison systems in California. He would go to places like Susanville, Jamestown, San Quentin, and Chino, but eventually by October 1984, he would hit Folsom State Prison. Now, from the moment he got off the bus, Neckbone would see the racial tension between the blacks and the Southsiders. Now, Folsom at the time was considered one of the deadliest prisons in California. Now, both Bloods and Crips would go to war with the Southsiders in the state penitentiary. Eventually, a riot would break.
Them boys ain't working out, those. Them boys said, boy, we gotta stay in shape, but them goddamn Mexicanos. Them Mexicanos ain't playing. We gotta stay in shape.
Now, both Bloods and Crips will go to war with the
Southsiders
in the state penitentiary. Eventually, a riot would break out between the blacks and Mexicans, and multiple murders would take place. Now, Neckbone at the time was working in the kitchen, and he would slide his homies knives and different things for protection during the war. Now, by 1987, he would be released from prison at the age of 23. Now, only about a year later, Compton would have a huge spotlight on him due to the rise of the rap group NWA. Now, this spotlight would also shine a light on the gang activity in the city of Compton. Now, Neckbone will continue to be active in the streets and will be out slinging dope to make his money. Now, by 1989, he will be arrested for being in possession of a controlled substance, being in possession of a firearm. Now, he will spend some time being locked up, and a couple of years later, he will be back out on the streets. And around this same time, his homie Buntry was working security for Suge and Dre at Death Row Records. Now, Buntry wanted Neckbone to come work with him, but at the time, Neckbone was still heavy in the streets, and that's where he wanted to stay at. But things in Compton would get even worse.
Man, this man offering you a job with Suge Knight, Dr. Dre. Gang say, man, I don't want to be around a bunch of rappers. Oh, nigga, I'm in the street. I'm Mob Piru for sure, and that's what I want to stay, nigga. Don't try to elevate me, nigga. I don't want to be elevated. I want to go slide on the ops. Because I'm Big Neckbone from Bompton. For sure.
February 1993, when 2 Compton police officers were gunned down. Now, the tension would be so high in Compton that police would begin to target different gang members.
Oh, yeah.
And in April of 1993, Neckbone would be coming out of his house, and he would be approached by Compton police officers. Now, there will be an exchange of words, and then there will be a scuffle to follow behind. Neckbone will be arrested and charged with battery on an officer and being in possession of cocaine for sale. Now, once locked up, his homie Buntry would then go meet up with Suge Knight, who would decide to come bail Neckbone out of jail. Now, eventually, Suge, Buntry, and Neckbone will all become super tight. They would even go out to clubs, flamed up, and get into fights from time to time with different hoods. But once Death Row started to grow and get more and more artists, Neckbone and Buntry will be working security heavy for them, especially when they went to clubs. And it was said that when something jumped off, Neckbone was known for knocking shit down on whoever had a problem with Death Row. Now, Neckbone would prove his worth to Death Row and eventually be put on Death Row's payroll and start making some legit money. Now, he will become an enforcer for Death Row along with Buntry to keep things in order, working security, especially for Dr. Dre's Chronic Tour in the fall of 1993. Now, at this time, Death Row would explode with the success of Dre and Snoop, and this would lead to Suge Knight needing to bring in more help for security because Neckbone and Buntry couldn't do it by themselves. But Neckbone didn't only just work security for Suge, he would also listen to demo tapes and even be in meetings with Suge along with Jimmy Iovine. But at the time, Neckbone was still out on bail, and his court date would come up, and he would be convicted and sentenced to 2 years of prison for assaulting a police officer and being in possession of a controlled substance. Now, while in prison, he would find himself being placed in the hole after causing a riot. Now, later that year, his close homie, Big Jake, would be shot and killed while in Atlanta with Suge Knight at a club. And this would hurt Neckbone to the core because Big Jake was his homie. But by 1995, he would be released from prison only 1 week after Tupac had just signed to Death Row. Eventually, he and Pac would become good friends. And he would become somewhat of a big homie to Pac, who he would always try to give advice to and keep him out of trouble anytime Pac would be fired up. Now, Neckbone would get close to another Death Row artist named Lady Rage, who he would eventually have a relationship with, and they would have a child sometime later. Now, Suge Knight, at the time...
That Baby D, ain't it? He had a child by Baby D.
And they would have
that Baby D.
a child sometime later. Now, Suge Knight, at the time, owned a club called Club 662, which was a known hotspot. And one night, RZA from the Wu-Tang was trying to gain entry, but was refused due to overcapacity. And this would lead to an altercation between Neckbone and RZA, because it was said that RZA was talking crazy to Neckbone, who in return would put hands on RZA, and it will ultimately lead to RZA chain coming up missing.
So he get to hollering and screaming, talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? He got the rings on with the little spikes on him and everything. He just woofing. Before you bam bam me, I'm gonna bam bam you. Yeah, he got his chain.
Oh, this old Neckbone right, huh?
He took.
Before you bam bam me, I'm a bam that nigga. I'm Neckbone.
Now, in 1996, Tupac would record his hit record called To Live and Die in L.A., where he would mention Neckbone's name. Now, Neckbone wasn't too keen on his name being mentioned due to the attention it would draw, but eventually he would give Pac the green light to go ahead and keep his name in there.
I got Neckbone hair on. Imagine being able to build
Hey, man, what's
just
up,
by
bro?
thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
But eventually he would give Pac the green light to go ahead and keep his name in there.
I got Neckbone hair on.
Now, that same year, Neckbone and his homie Trayvon Lane would move into Suge Knight's old parents' house out on Orchard. Now, at the time, the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy Records was known worldwide, but it was also known that Puffy had close ties to the Mob Piru rivals, the Compton Southside Crips. Now, things would get bad in the fall of 1996 when Neckbone's homie Trayvon and other Mob Piru members were attacked by the Southside Crips at the Foot Locker at Lakewood Mall. But after this, only weeks later, everything would come to a head September 7th at the Tyson fight. Neckbone's homie Trayvon would spot the Southside Crip Baby Lane and point him out to Neckbone. But before Neckbone could even respond, Tupac would take off on Baby Lane, knocking him to the ground. And this would lead to Baby Lane being jumped. But not long after, Tupac and Suge would be shot while riding down the street. Now, Neckbone's car at the time...
I ain't gonna cap, man, like... But Pac... Man, I think Pac got around Suge and he got around them real bloods, bro, and he felt like he was untouchable, bro. He felt like a real gangster, bro. You know what I mean? Cause you gotta think the Compton Crips and the Mob Piru, they already at it anyway, bro. You know what I mean? Like, but Pac ain't had nothing to do with that beef, man. I believe if Pac would have just been emotional intelligent, not been in the car with Suge, we'll still have Tupac today. For sure.
Was boxed in, so he wasn't able to keep up, so he would jump out of his car, but by the time he did, the Southside Crips had already driven off. Now, 6 days later, Tupac would be pronounced dead, and Compton would become a war zone between the Southside Crips and the Pirus. Now, this would lead to multiple shootings on both sides, including multiple murders. Now, the following month, the police would raid Neckbone's house, and he will be arrested in connection with the murder of a Rolling 60 Crip named Bo D, which took place in 1995. Now, while in custody, Neckbone will come face to face with the Southside Crip, Baby Lane, who was also arrested around that same time for a murder and related to a shooting in Compton. But Compton police will realize that at the time of the murder of the Rolling 60 Crip, Neckbone was still in prison, so it was impossible for him to be responsible for that murder. Eventually, Neckbone will be released. Now, after his home was raided, Neckbone would then rent an apartment in North Hollywood, getting out of Compton completely. But around this same time, his homie, Lonnie, had just got out of prison. So this would lead Neckbone to going back and forth from North Hollywood to Compton to try to convince his homeboy, Lonnie, to get out of the hood. but things would go from bad to worse. On December 14, 1996, Neckbone, along with his homie Lonnie and Trayvon, were headed to meet some females. Now on the way, Lonnie wanted to stop and talk to one of their homies, but Neckbone was against it because the war was still going on in Compton, and at any time, something can pop off. But after a brief argument, eventually Neckbone would pull the car over at a convenience store at the corner. Now they would start smoking and drinking and kicking it and talking. And one of their homies named Ball Gang would come up and start chopping it up with Neckbone and Lonnie. But sometime later, as Neckbone and Lonnie and Trayvon was about to get back into the car to leave, a white Buick Skylark would come through and start shooting. Everyone would scatter and start running, and Neckbone would run inside the convenience store and try to grab the owner's pistol, but the store owner would grab it back. And seconds later, bullets would start flying through the window, just shredding through all the food and water bottles.
Nigga, Neckbone. Nigga, where your pistol at, Neckbone? Oh, Neckbone going there trying to get the owner. Give me your pistol, man. They shooting at her. Give me your pistol. Where your pistol at, folks?
Throughout the store. Now, once the smoke cleared, Neckbone would walk back outside and run to his car. But that's when he noticed that his homeboy Lonnie had been shot 14 times. A total of 50 shots had been fired at that scene. But sadly, by the time officers arrived on scene, Lonnie would be pronounced dead. Now, police would later arrest a Palmerno gangster CRIP for this murder, and the suspect would be sentenced to life in prison. Now, the following year in 1997, Neckbone will be riding through Beverly Hills looking for a spot to rent for a new R&B group that Suge Knight has just signed. But while driving, he will be pulled over by the police. Now, they would search through his car and find drugs, and this would lead to Neckbone being arrested for being in possession of a controlled substance. Ultimately, Neckbone would be found guilty by a jury and be sentenced to 7 years in prison.
Dang.
Now, while being locked up, he would stay in contact with his homeboy Buntry. But sadly, in 2002, with only a few years left on his sentence, Neckbone would get the phone call that his homie Buntry had been shot and killed.
God dang, bro. I know he got survivor's remorse, bro.
And at this time, there would be Piru on Piru violence throughout the entire city of Compton. And Neckbone would lose a lot of close homies in this war, and this would cut him deep. Eventually, Neckbone will be released from prison in 2004. Now, at the time, Suge Knight was locked up, but Suge would help Neckbone get back on his feet. And over the next several years, Neckbone would continue to work for Death Row until Suge would eventually lose the company. Now, Neckbone would go on the straight path and stay out of trouble from the law and get out of the streets. He would eventually get a job working at the DMV for the next 15 years. And as of today, he could be seen doing interviews on social media. I would like to thank everybody for tapping in, and I'll see y'all next time.
Dang, bro. That crazy right there. I ain't gonna lie though, even though like a lot of crazy stuff happened in that video and a lot of people lost their life, bro, like Neckbone still living, so you know, shout out for that, bro. Neckbone beat the street, cuz. You know what I mean? He beat the streets, man. But yeah, like I said before, bro, a subscriber, I think I said something about Neckbone. They were like, yo, he would like that for real. That's why I surprised them that he had did a interview with Vlad for sure. But shout out Neckbone, man. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully he can talk to these kids and let them know, look, bro, the streets ain't where it at. I done lost all my homies. Like I lost every friend that I ever had is dead. You feel me? Like straight up, it ain't funny, but I'm just saying, like, nigga, survivor remorse gotta be real, bro. It ain't just for cats in the military, bro. It's people out here like that, like straight up, bro. But anyway, though, Mark, let me know how y'all feel about it, though, folk, in the comment section down below, man. Don't forget to like that vid. Don't forget to sub up. After you sub up, man, make sure you ring that bell. After y'all ring the bell, make sure you hit all, because I don't want y'all to be missing none of these bangers, folk. You smell me? Mob life or no life. Mob will no way, man. I know how we coming. OTM, gonna get it out the mud every single day. I love y'all, man, but God love you more than me, so tap in with him. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all know we're going up like gas prices, man. Shout out my dog, Munchie B. You feel me? And I'm gonna check in with y'all on that next vid. There you go. Gang. You know we got the streets, nigga. We got the trap, too. I say my trap doing numbers. I just bust another jewel. Got a player around the corner, hey. I say my trap doing numbers like that 05 summer. Got a quarter pound on me, hey.